In residency, I remember seeing maybe 8 patients a day max. My 4th day in private practice, I was alone in our busiest office and I saw 115 patients. There's a saying I'm sure you've heard too. It's like see it, do it, teach it. And that's really the best way to hone your skills and your knowledge.
I'm Dr. Scott Law, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Smile Doctors Off Mute podcast. I'm so excited to sit down with Dr. Jessica Atani today. I know oftentimes as Smile Doctors, we talk about the impact of doctors from all around and how they influence one another. But very rarely, I think, do doctors think about those who are younger than us, those who've graduated more recently, and the impact and the knowledge share and the difference they can make in the life of practitioners who've been at it a little while. And I would say Jessica is that for me. I love learning from her. I love her as a person and her approach to ortho. And I'm excited to sit down with you today, Jessica. Welcome.
Thank you. Super excited and honestly, truly honored to be here.
Absolutely. So I want people to get to know you, but let's start from the beginning. So tell me a little bit about your whole journey to get into orthodontics.
Yeah. So taking it way back, I grew up in a really small town in Pennsylvania called Erie, Pennsylvania. Some people might have heard of it. It sits right on the Great Lake. And right now, actually, it is breaking records for the snowiest city in the country. I think right now they have, my mom's been updating me every day, but I think like over 4 feet of snow that they've gotten in the past week and counting. So it was always pretty snowy where I grew up. So I'm used to that. But yeah, so very snowy, small little town. And it grew up with, I have 3 younger brothers. And, from a young age, my parents really instilled in us the importance of hard work. And they, not just told us that, but I think showed us that through their own hard work and their own dedication. And that's definitely, no doubt, my family is the number one reason why I'm at where I'm at today. My parents, as well as my brothers, are all super, super hardworking. And, I can't be the older sister and let my brothers show me up. So, I always, where it was indirectly trying to keep up with not necessarily competing, but trying to keep up with their success. And super, super grateful to my family to, get me where I am today. But grew up in there and lived there until I went to college at Georgetown. So I came down to the DC area, went to undergrad there. And actually, something most people don't know is I actually applied to Georgetown as a business major. I didn't think I was going to go into healthcare. And then actually, before I even started at Georgetown, though, I worked at a pediatric dentist and ortho office, and I loved it, fell in love with it, and decided that I wanted to change my major. So before I started, I switched to a human science major, and that kind of is what started me on the path to ortho. And then after undergrad, stayed kind of in the DC area, just went up to Baltimore for my dental training at University of Maryland. And then I stayed there and did my ortho training there as well. And then didn't move too far and moved to Northern Virginia to start my career. So that's kind of my journey thus far.
How it is. Okay, that's cool. When did you graduate from residency?
I graduated residency 2021, summer of 2021.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So at the time of this recording, you've been in practice how long?
Little under 3.5 years.
Wow. Okay. Amazing. What you do and how good you are at it. So this is fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about your mindset since it was recently so close. So graduation wasn't too long ago. So as you were that was approaching, what were your options and what were you looking at? So that was a hard time as post-COVID, just a little bit, lot up in the air. Yeah. What was going through your mind and your heart at that time?
Yeah. So I didn't really know exactly what type of practice I wanted to get into. One of my number one things that I knew though is I wanted to get in with a practice or an opportunity where there was room for growth. And when I interviewed with Dr. Casagrande, that was like one of the first things I told him as well. And I've loved in my position now that there has been a lot of room for growth. But I interviewed with a few different practices, and as soon as I met Dr. Casagrande and some of the other team members at NVO as I toured the offices, I just knew that that was the right fit for me. And it was a very easy decision to join that practice.
That's great. What was it about it? I know it's super unique. I've visited many times and observed you guys. What did you fall in love with?
I think at first I just really fell in love with all the people. So when I met him for the first time, he took me through like 3 of the office locations, and just everyone I met was so nice and really seemed so genuine and really happy to be there as well. And I could tell it was just such a positive working environment. I mean, when someone's coming to visit, obviously everyone's kind of on their best behavior, so to speak, but it really seemed genuine. And, just Dr. Casagrande himself, we really got along instantly from, the first time we met. And I felt like I would really enjoy learning from him. Also, just I had known his name in the community and how successful he was in the practice was. So it was really, I was humbled to even be interviewing there. And I knew that it would be a great opportunity to learn so much so quickly because of the success of the practice and how knowledgeable and educated and kind of proficient all the doctors at NVO were. I knew that I would learn a lot from them and have great mentorship. So that was also something that really sold me on the practice, was just the success that they had that, would help me to grow.
Absolutely. I think that's a major part. You learn one thing in residency, and then it's not necessarily that when in real life, and out in practice. And speaking of which, what are some of those things that you were surprised with as you made that transition coming from residency to get out into real private practice? What was the most eye-opening? What was the most pleasant? Tell us about that.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest transitions coming into private practice was the patient volume compared to residency. And, in residency, I remember seeing maybe 8 patients a day max. Yeah. And when I started at NVO, I graduated on a Wednesday, had Thursday and Friday and the weekend off. And Monday was 4th of July. So July 5th was my first day. I shadowed for July 5th. So it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I shadowed one of the other doctors at NVO. And then Friday, so my 4th day in private practice, I was alone in our busiest office and I saw 115 patients on a Friday in July. So really quickly, it was a huge transition and a change into seeing that high of a patient volume. And I think that was one of the biggest changes I noticed from residency. But luckily, I had a really, really strong team to help me see all of those patients, and, kind of just had to dive in head first and take it on. And I think that's part of why I have learned so much in just like 3 years out is because of that volume and that experience from seeing so many patients. And then definitely one of the other things, especially coming into NVO, is the cases that I've treated with Invisalign. And NVO has been the number 1 Invisalign provider since 2019 and treats over 2,500 cases typically as a practice on the year. And
you guys are the biggest in the world, right?
I think so. I think I might get.
You are. Yeah.
Not, but yeah, I definitely, biggest in North America, and North America has the biggest, aligner sharehold. So I think it's safe to say biggest in the world.
So safe to say, as Zach says, safe to say in the galaxy, I think.
Yes, safe to say in the galaxy. Yes, for sure. And yeah, so, it was a little intimidating coming into that as a resident, where I knew that aligners were, a big part of the future of orthodontics. So I wanted to try to treat as many cases as I could in residency, but, it's just residency is not set up to really have Invisalign be a core treatment modality. I treated some cases. Any friends, I treated my mom, my mother-in-law, my husband, myself. So I really tried to get as much experience as I could. But, I think I had treated 10 cases maybe by the time I graduated. And then my first year out in practice, I think I treated over 600 new Invisalign cases my first year out. And last year did like over 700. So just in starts. So like, it's crazy to think that in a few years, I went from 10 to 700 in the treatment types that I was treating with Invisalign. Like I never did an extraction case, a surgical case, anything like that in residency. So that was, I think, the biggest change for me was the treatment modality of using aligners to treat those complex cases.
100%. No, it's fantastic. And I want to get into your proficiency on that and how you lecture for Align now. I think that's fantastic. But first, let's go back. I think people sometimes when they hear, oh man, you saw 100 patients or 115 or however many a day, immediately they make a bunch of assumptions. First, they think that it's it's a mill, quality's poor. Patients don't have a great experience. Doctor must be just totally stressed and awful. Tell us about that. Now, maybe your first day, you were a little stressed to go from 8 to 115. But
Right.
tell us about how that is on a daily basis, your team and that whole workflow.
Yeah. So I think the key to it is just what you said, the team. I mean, am so lucky to have such an incredible team at NVO, and a team, the larger team at Smile Doctors that really supports everything that I do on a daily basis. There's absolutely no way I could see 115 patients in a day without a really amazing team. So they're so knowledgeable and so, proficient at what they do that it allows me to go in and really make the few minutes that I spend with the patient really valuable and it's efficient. I'm not in there for a long time, but I'm still making sure that that patient gets really good quality care just because we aren't wasting minutes on things that aren't necessary, and then I think that being really high Invisalign share of chair helps us see more patients in a day too. The appointments are just faster. We also, now with remote monitoring and SDA that we have, that's been a huge help in making appointments efficient, making our patients' treatments more efficient. So I think that just the technology that we have invested in as Smile Doctors and therefore at NVO as well, has just really helped to make those 115 patient days seem not that bad.
Yeah, that's right. I agree. I've heard it said that, our behaviors default to the level of our systems. And when you have great systems in place that you've trained on, that you've thought about exceptions, you're there to serve the patient, you're there to make workflow really nice, checks in place so things don't fall through the cracks. It's extremely manageable and it's so much more fun. I know when I'm in practice and it is a busy clinic and it is a high proficient work team that's full of energy and we're in a space like that, the patients feel it, they notice it, they love it, they want to be a part of it. It's just infectious versus one that's really empty, no one's really talking. You have kind of a low stress day. It's like, those are the days where I'm the worst orthodontist because then I get busy on my phone or get into emails or whatever, and I'm not there with the patient, with the team and a part of it. So man, I want a busy day. I want to be thinking, jamming, having fun, high-fiving all over the place. It's so much more fun for everybody.
For sure. Everyone feeds off that energy of each other. Like some of our days that are the busiest are truly our best days, or when we have special events and, we have a really, really, busy day with a lot of patients that we're trying to see, like new patient exam days, special events. Those are my favorite days. And I think the team's favorite days in the office as well.
Yeah. Now you guys are known for those, I'd say. What are some of your biggest days? Just tell us a little bit about some of those and the number of starts you do on those days. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So usually like twice a year, we'll have special days. We call them Invisalign extravaganzas. We'll start patients, with braces if that's what they really want those days too. But they're kind of like our Black Friday, so to speak, of Invisalign treatment or orthodontic treatment. And the patients come in, they get a special discount on treatment, and we only see new patient exams those days. And we always have a theme. So we just had one back in November, and our theme was Harry Potter, and it was super fun. The whole team took the quiz to see like what Harry Potter house they would be in. We all wore shirts for our house, and we had like food, drinks, and they were all Harry Potter themed. And that, the patients we had music, and the patients are super excited and happy to be there. And those are like some of our best, most fun days just as a team and with the environment. Everyone's just super happy and excited. And in terms of like volume and number of patients we started, I wish I knew the numbers off the top of my head, but I think this year our goal was, I want to say 500K in a day. And I think we exceeded it I think we ended up doing close to 600K in starts in that one day.
That's amazing. All the lives that were impacted changed because of this journey. And I just think about the smiles that'll finish in a year, 18 months. Yeah. Awesome. Great job. What a fun experience for people. It's great. I love it. So you've had a ton of professional development. It sounds like from NVO, Smile Doctors, and even Align. And I know that you've lectured for them on different platforms. Talk about that and how you've grown as a person, getting up on stage, showing your cases, and teaching others your ways.
Yeah, I think that the opportunity to speak for Align has been one of the biggest areas of professional growth and personal growth. It's definitely gets you out of your comfort zone to get up on stage and lecture to a bunch of other orthodontists, especially being young and being kind of newly out of residency. Like this year I lectured at the Invisalign Summit in Vegas, and I was the youngest doctor speaker there, which is kind of intimidating. But I'm really happy that I've done it and really pushed myself. And with each opportunity, when they ask me to, I really always push myself to say yes, because it just helps me to grow every single time. And there's a saying I'm sure you've heard too. It's like see it, do it, teach it. And that's really the best way to hone your skills and your knowledge. And I found that too, like, back in residency, I was seeing cases being treated. Then I got out into private practice. I was doing and treating these cases, these complex cases, and now I'm teaching about it. And, through teaching and putting together these lectures, it's really made me think about what are the best practices, what is the best way to treat patients. And, it's helped to hone my clinical skills as well, in addition to my kind of like interpersonal skills, as well as my confidence for sure. It definitely, helped with my confidence in treating patients after getting up there and speaking.
I think so, not only from a clinical standpoint, but also in a presentation standpoint of you connecting with others and talking that way. What have you learned that way as far as being real, or what advice do you have for people in that when speaking to others, whether it's on stage or in the TC room? I know you're excellent in there too. What's your approach?
Whether it's, into an audience or to just a patient in the TC room, I think my first and the most important thing for me right off the bat is connecting with that person, whether it's a huge audience or whether it's just this one patient in the room. When I go into a TC room, I don't talk about teeth for, at least the first minute or two. I just talk about the patient and what they're interested in, and, maybe something they're wearing or something they wrote on their form about a hobby they have or something like that. I really want to connect with and get to know the patient first. When it's lecturing to a big audience, I obviously don't have that one-on-one connection in the same way, but I learned this actually from Josh Adcox, who is also part of Smile Doctors and such an amazing speaker. And he told me when I first started speaking to, always try to make it into a story and start with a story. And that's what will stay with people. And that's what will help people connect with you and help you connect with them. And, I still remember lectures that I heard of his years ago and the story he told behind them. So I think that that's been a huge help for my speaking, and is something that I always strive to do, is really make it personal and help to connect with the audience.
Love that. Yeah, Josh is so good at it, and you are too. You've learned that yeah, when we can tie in other areas of life, it all applies. So it's not just ortho, and people aren't just walking malocclusions, right? They're people. It's like, how can we connect with them? And the service we provide, the way we change their life is through straightening teeth, but it's our influence.
Yeah.
It's our influence each time we see them. And that, again, it goes back to seeing patients that way and systems in place. And one of the things that I'm most proud of, that I love that we do, and I wish all locations would do it a little bit better than they are, is that we have it in our chart notes that we want to keep track of what those patient interests are. What have they been up to? What is it about them, so that we can connect each time and move them a little bit forward, towards their goals or what they want to accomplish in life. So whether they were an awkward little kid in the chair, and that was me, I remember that. I remember sitting there, and I remember the guy, my orthodontist must have had it written down on the chart on basketball, because he would ask me each time and just ask me how it was going. And and I appreciated it, even in my little 7th grade brain. It made sense to me that, and it was flattering that he would remember that about me. And but so did some of the assistants who I had little crushes on all the time. So it mattered. It was awesome.
For sure.
That's cool. So as you're going through this, you're out 3.5 years, and you've accomplished a ton, and you're well on your way to just becoming an incredible orthodontist, one who has impacted all across the industry, and certainly within Smile Doctors and your home practice. What are some areas, if you wouldn't mind getting a little vulnerable, what are some areas that you want to grow in? What are your biggest growth opportunities interpersonally?
Yeah. So I think from like a personal standpoint, my personality is, I like to have a lot of control over things, and I'm pretty type A. And one thing that I'm still trying to get better at is letting go of that control and delegating a little bit. I think I've definitely gotten better at it since starting. But like I was talking about before, I have an incredible team, and I fully and completely trust them. But I think sometimes I also, there's certain times people will say, "Why are you doing that? You're the doctor. You shouldn't be doing that." And I don't really believe in like roles or titles. Yes, I'm a doctor, you're an assistant, you're the front desk, but at the same time, we're all part of one team. So even if there's something that needs to be done that isn't necessarily a task or the job for the doctor, I don't mind jumping in and doing it. But at the same time, I need to learn to delegate certain things, because there are a lot of things that only I can do. And I need to have time to do those things. And so I'm working on delegating certain tasks. I think it's something that Dr. Casagrande is really good at. I remember when I first started too, he said, I hire really great people and put them in the right roles and just let them do their thing. And I'm doing that, working on doing that as well. And, I can see that my team can handle a lot and can do a lot of things better than I can. So I need to let them do that. So I think that's an area that I'm working on, is letting go of control.
That's awesome. Well, recognition is the first step to anything. And I think, I remember this is a journey that I'm continue to be on, right? In all areas. And I have to constantly check. I'm one who likes things the right way, and it has to be the right way. Seems to be my way, right? That's the thing. And the more that I recognize that there's more than one way to skin the cat, and it's the objective that we want to achieve versus doing it, walking these steps in order to do it. There's so many paths to get there. And to your point, Zach said it perfectly. It's like, let's empower people to go and accomplish these things. Let's set guardrails and checks so we can check in with each other and make sure that we're coordinated as we go and accomplish what we want. But that's it. And as orthodontists, it's pounded in our heads in residency, all through school, everything. It's our way or the highway, and we just learn that we're just built to be these little ego monsters. But man, when we can release control to others in order to better serve people, it's the way to win and win big. So that's awesome. I'm so glad that you've discovered that, and I think you are doing it. And I appreciate you inspiring us again to be better and better. So, being in the position that you are as an associate in the practice, just out 3.5 years, you're in a unique position to provide advice for those who are in residency now, those who are soon to graduate or maybe have recently graduated. What advice do you have for them? Maybe on the technical side of ortho, but also soft skills. What should they be doing, developing, and thinking about their futures?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest pieces of advice is that really there's no replacement for hard work. Every orthodontic resident has worked extremely hard to get to where they are today. And, sometimes people will graduate residency and feel like I've made it and now I can kind of relax. And in a sense, yes, you want to be able to enjoy your success. You're now out in private practice. You have a little bit more money. You can enjoy, use that to enjoy things that you want to enjoy. But at the same time, don't let your foot off the gas, especially early on in your career. I think working hard early in your career sets you up for so much success in the future. And it really helps to make a name for yourself as a hard worker, as someone who is a go-getter and is, looking for solutions and ways to better patient care, better the industry, better their practice. So I think that's super, super important. And, especially early in your career, you're the youngest you're ever going to be. So you have more energy than you're ever going to have. And you're the most inexperienced you're ever going to be. So the room for growth is huge. So I think, yes, work as hard as you can in the beginning too. Don't burn out, still take time for yourself and to enjoy, the things that you want to enjoy as well. But really keep focused on your goals and work hard towards them. And then in terms of, technical and clinical skills, I think always look for ways to keep learning also. So, when I first came out, I still clearly had a lot to learn and still do every single day have a lot to learn and try to learn. So I think through doing CE, seeking out mentors and other doctors, I've learned so much from other doctors just within NVO. I have, would not be in the position I am treating as many patients as I am without their help and their guidance. But also within Smile Doctors as well, there have been so many doctors that have helped to give advice or tips I've picked up from them in terms of patient care. And so I think finding mentors and using them to help yourself grow in your career and grow your skills is also really important.
I love it. It's awesome advice. So you've kept yourself busy. What do you do for fun? What are some of your hobbies, and what do you do on your downtime?
So I love working out, try to work out pretty much every morning. It just starts my day off right. And so that's been, a big, I've pretty much been an athlete like my whole life, but really love that. And then I also love to travel, especially right now. My husband and I don't have kids, so it's just been the two of us. And we, definitely make time to travel. Our next big trip, we're going to Thailand, which we're super excited about. And so that's been really fun. And I also love shoes. I love shopping for shoes. I have a big shoe collection. So yeah, that's, one of my hobbies, I would say as well, an expensive hobby. But it's been fun, and it's fun to, there's so many shoes out there that it's fun to always find new ones, and you can never have enough, in my opinion.
And so we got into this a little bit when we were at the Invisalign Summit, and there were some doctors around the table, and we were talking about your shoes. Talk about your closet or your future closet of how that'll look.
Yeah. So my husband and I recently moved into a house from an apartment this past spring. And basically what sold me on the house was we walked into the master bedroom, and there was a big room in the front of the master bedroom that's supposed to be a sitting room. And I knew we were never going to sit in there and use it for anything. So I turned to him and I was like, I'll move into this house if this can be my shoe closet. And he was like, all right, deal. So we moved in and I like lined the walls of the room with essentially bookshelves. And now they're lined with shoes. And it's amazing. It's my favorite room in the house.
So paint the picture for us. What kind of shoes, what color, what type, all that.
Yeah. So I like all kind of shoes, but especially after starting working in private practice and wearing, black scrubs all day, I have really been getting into sneakers because I can wear them to work, and it's kind of a fun way to bring some personality to just essentially like a uniform of scrubs. So I've been getting really into sneakers, all kinds of sneakers, especially Jordans. Have them in every single color, every style, every number. So yeah, but I love heels and all that for going out too. But sneakers have been my guilty pleasure recently.
I love it. That's so cool. Yeah, and I love that you feature them too. It's such a part of you. It makes you unique, and you wearing them too. It's awesome. So, last question. So, as a Smile Doctors partner, you have equity in Smile Doctors. Talk to us. What do you see in the future? What's your outlook?
Yeah, I mean, I think the outlook is for Smile Doctors as a whole, and then essentially as a part of that, my future as well is super, super bright. I mean, we've just continued to grow and have such great growth even since I joined the practice 3 years ago. The amount of growth we've had and the number of new amazing doctors that have come to be a part of Smile Doctors is incredible. I lecture for residents. There's a course that I've done like usually once or twice a year, pretty much since I graduated. And there's a slide on Smile Doctors on there. And every single time I lecture, I have to keep updating it with how many practices we have and how many states we're in. And it's just kind of crazy to look back at my original PowerPoint just from 3 years ago, and how many more doctors have been added. So I think the growth we've had, and especially because the doctors we've been bringing on are all incredible doctors. It's our future is super, super bright. And personally, in terms of Smile Doctors, I don't know exactly where I want to go within Smile Doctors. I'm super happy in the role I'm at right now, but like I kind of said in the beginning, I'm always someone who really wants to grow and learn new things and do new things and try new things. So, as the practice continues to grow, I know there's a lot of different opportunities within Smile Doctors to get more involved in like the business side, potentially start a de novo, continue speaking. So lots of different avenues and opportunities that I could go down, but I don't know exactly what the future holds. I just know it's going to be good.
Good for you. Good for you. It's one of the things I'm most proud of is that associates who join out of residency, who don't have a practice to sell or combine with, inside the Smile Doctor system, is they're able to become partners and equity holders. And so the future success of Smile Doctors they also benefit from. And I am so glad that you are such a wonderful partner, the impact and influence that you have on all of us and how we learn from you. I see throughout your career, you started out in business and then saw and seized opportunities, and you continue to do that. Whatever's put in front of you, you go take it, and it's an inspiration to all of us. Jessica, it's been a pleasure speaking to you today, and I hope everyone listening to this call or listening to this podcast learned a little bit today from Dr. Jessica Itani and who she is as a person and the difference she's making in the lives of people. So thank you very much for today.
Yep. Yes, thank you so much. This has been great.